We're going to talk about the British Medical Association. It's facing a big revolt from more than 1,400 doctors. 900 of them are BMA members. 70 professors, 23 former and current presidents of that union have written to that medical union protesting about its dismissal of a paediatrician, renowned, eminent paediatrician, Hilary Cass's report, recommending that sex hormones should no longer be prescribed to children who claim gender dysphoria, who claim they were born in the wrong body. Obviously, this is a rather worrying situation. Don't think it's any of the union's business, but these doctors are just saying, look, Hilary Cass's report was evidence-based. You're just dismissing it with no evidence whatsoever, and it just feels like the sort of dark days of the madness over what we did to children at Frankenstein's Castle, the Tavistock Centre, over many years, mutilating them, giving them puberty blocker drugs that completely changed their lives when they were too young really to make a decision. Doctors seeing sort of 4- and 8-year-old kids to discuss whether or not they were in the wrong body. This madness. It just feels like this BMA reaction is a kind of possible return to those dark days. Let's talk from the Sex Matters organisation to Fiona McAnena. Hello, Fiona.
Hi, Kevin.
Well, you just heard what I said. I mean, it's encouraging that 1,400 doctors, 70 professors, 23 former or current presidents of the BMA, and indeed 900 BMA members have written to the BMA saying you can't do this. You know, Dr. Hilary Cass's report was exhaustive. It was immaculate. She is a renowned paediatrician. She just said we've got to stop giving drugs to kids, girls who climb trees or boys who wear pink, basically. Sanity finally prevailed. The BMA is going against that. What do you make of that?
I think it must be very troubling if you're a parent of one of these distressed children when you hear the BMA come out and say we're a bit dubious about this report. You know, what parent wouldn't want to have the best possible health care for their child, particularly these children who claim to be unhappy, feel that there's something wrong with them, and yet there's no good diagnostic to be able to say which children need what kind of treatment. In fact, what Dr. Cass found is that the vast majority of them have other issues. And also previous studies have shown that mostly children grow out of this. So the whole idea of the BMA demanding that the CASS review be called into question is, I think, very irresponsible, because those parents of those children really don't know. They don't understand necessarily that it's driven by some ideologues in that organisation. So it's terrific to see such a large number of respectable doctors come out and say, no, not in our name.
Exactly. And it just feels like a sort of return to the sort of dark days when the Tavistock Clinic in particular, was doing bad things to children, advising parents really bad things, mutilating them sometimes, giving them these drugs that change their lives. The CASS report appeared to, at long last, close the door on what you might call a couple of decades of utter insanity, NHS-sponsored insanity. And here's the BMA trying to go back to that. I mean, that is really, really disconcerting, isn't it?
Yeah, and, you've used some really strong terms in introducing this, but I think they're justified. I think in time, people will look at what happened to these children and say, what were they thinking? What child needs to have their puberty blocked and their natural development stopped just because they don't fit stereotypes? So it's very concerning for the Doctors' Union, who do have a good name. Many people will think the British Medical Association, that sounds reputable. It's disturbing for them to jump in on the basis of no evidence at all. And, we know that the CASS review has been very well received around the world. It's a very important piece of work, and it's something that we all should be proud of, that first under the Conservatives it was commissioned, and now under Labour it's being implemented. This is very positive for those children. It will protect them.
Yeah, in fairness to West Streeting, he's acting well so far as the Health Secretary in this area. He has confirmed that puberty blockers should not be prescribed anymore. But the BMA seems intent on waging a campaign to reverse all of that. I mean, it is encouraging that 1,400 doctors have written to them, but I suspect that in their zeal, the BMA will continue with this. And somehow or other, somebody has to silence them. You know, you get an important piece of work like the CASS report, a very important piece of work, closing the door, as I said, on a very dark era. I make no apologies for those strong terms that I used. Children were mutilated. I live quite near the Tavistock Clinic, and everyone in the area, we used to call it, everybody called it Frankenstein's Castle, and it was a nickname that place fully deserved. I cannot believe what was going on at that place. I'm sure you can't either. So the CASS report looked to have ended that, and somehow or other, would you not agree, the BMA has to be prevailed upon to stop this, This is insanity trying to rear its ugly head again, I think.
Well, you'd hope that with this kind of rebuke from so many eminent doctors that there are enough wise heads at the top of the BMA to say, hold on a minute, we're not serving ourselves well with this, we're not serving patients, we're not serving our members. But I think that West Streeting does deserve credit because he has already had abuse for this. He's had all kinds of criticism. It's entirely baseless. You know, it's been 4 years of hard work to get this review out. It's very robust. So good for him that he's standing his ground. And I think it's terrific that these other doctors have pushed back at their union. If I were a member of that union, I'd be appalled that people have acted in my name and called into question a piece of work that is important to protect children.
Yeah. And it was deeply, deeply evidence-based. I mean, her research was immaculate. That report was intense, and the BMA's objection to it, its protest over it, its opposition to it, is absolutely evidence-free. I mean, the BMA is not entirely staffed by doctors, but there's quite a few doctors, you know, in executive positions in the BMA. What are they thinking? What on earth are they thinking? They've got no evidence. Hilary Cass had a mass of evidence. What on earth do they think they're playing at, objecting to an evidence-based report when they have no evidence?
Well, and I think, as I say, the really irresponsible thing here is if you're the parent of an unhappy child and you really don't know how best to help that child, hearing the BMA question the CASS review is only going to make things harder for you. But Hilary Cass had a team. There was a team from the University of York. They looked at over 100 different studies. You know, as you say, it was a very robust piece of work. And this can only be a political move by the BMA. And if they really cared about these kids, they wouldn't be making these random statements about questioning a very thorough piece of work.
Well, let's hope they get this robust reaction from these 1,400 doctors, as I say, including 70 professors. Let's hope that chastens the BMA and they see sense and they stop all of this.